Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be going over the new promo toon Alpha, who is coming to a promo store near you on Thursday. So Alpha will be our first disarming specialist S-class toon. She's a strong toon, which I kind of like because I feel like we're kind of lacking in some of the strong as well as alert S-class toons. So just to go over disarming, because I know that a lot of people don't use it anymore, but a disarming toon will never trigger a special or epic weapon effect, which is extremely valuable. Now, she can only disarm 3rd slot specials. She cannot disarm the 4th slot epic special, so you gotta keep that in mind when you're using her. Disarming also only triggers if she has a critical hit. If the enemy is disarmed, they are disarmed for 2 turns, and that helps you make a window in the defensive team or the offensive team, however you plan on running her. So by window, in case you're unfamiliar, a windowless team is a team that has weapons that will cause you a negative status effect. The main ones we really think about are stun as well as impair. I think having an S-class disarming toon is very important at this time because we're finding a lot more interesting crafts on weapons, especially seeing a lot of elusive impairs, focus stun weapons, and so on. So by having a toon, especially a strong one, that can disarm the enemy, it means this toon can also hold a stun on attack weapon. And she honestly makes me think of my 6-star Lily, who is also a green toon with disarming, and who does 3 attacks on her rush, just as Alpha does. So Alpha's rush is 76 AP. It deals 3 attacks of 400% damage, which is quite high. So that's a total of 1,200% total. That's to one enemy, and all other enemies get minus 50% defense for 2 turns. That's actually a really nice rush. So when she rushes, she's never going to trigger a weapon effect. If you give her a stun weapon, she could potentially stun the enemy, or she could end up killing them. If she kills her primary target, she will move on to a secondary target, which gives her the chance of using the rest of her rush. But what I really like is that second part. All other enemies get minus 50% defense. So the toon that you're attacking will not get minus 50% defense, but that's still a really big debuff in my opinion. And when I'm thinking about it, if we give her a stun on attack weapon and she's a disarming toon, you may as well give her the craft where it's bonus attack when you're attacking a stunned enemy. Because if she's able to stun the enemy on the first attack, then her second and third attack will experience an attack buff of 100% on that enemy. That craft, I believe, is Amplification 4, so I think she would do really well with that craft in particular. She also has a turn 1 active skill, so this character gets focus, plus 60 crit, and 50% attack for 4 turns, and gains 35% AP. I actually really like this active skill. That plus 60 crit basically means you don't need to give her a crit chance mod because she's getting this 60 crit points to start, plus her normal 10, in addition to any team player weapons that you might have on your team. The 50% attack boost will help her, so on the second turn you could get her to rush if you run her with Dr. Stevens or Gal, for example. So I think she's a really good toon actually. She's very interesting. I still wouldn't call her completely game-changing, but she definitely is a piece toon. I think what I like about Alpha the most is that she's able to do multiple things. So not only is she a control toon with this disarming ability, she's also a high damage dealer, and she's a defensive debuff. The debuff is huge to me because minus 50% defense is more effective than plus 50% attack to your team. So I mocked up a couple team ideas for attack. Now, this one is kind of interesting, but at the same time, after looking at it, it's a little redundant. All of my damage would basically be coming from Alpha as well as Priya, but reflect damage mods could definitely take both of them out. Both Diego and Alpha do a defense debuff, so I just don't find this as effective. Redundancies to me is kind of like a wasted space at times, because it's like, if I had a different toon in this position, they could be adding a different benefit to my team, or at least create a disadvantage for my enemy. And when I can, I do like my leader toon being able to fill multiple roles. So Diego, usually it's having the leadership ability, having the focus, as well as the defense down and impair. But on this team, the defense down, although is stronger at minus 65% defense compared to Alpha's minus 50%, I like that Alpha does quite a bit of damage as well. On a team like this, you need toons who can do a lot of damage. And of course, trying to phase out 6-star toons eventually, just because 6-star toons are obviously much lower in stats compared to S-Class, I just feel like Alpha would be the superior toon in this offensive team. Now, this next team that I've mocked together uses free-to-play Ivanova as the lead, so it won't benefit Princess, but Princess's active normalize ability is second to none and would be extremely useful. I guess if you pulled AJ could go here because he also has an active normalize skill, and it's to a line of enemies. Now, I do like that Ivanova can give focus to the whole team instead of Alpha just giving it to herself. I also like that Ivanova is able to produce her own damage, so she can actually apply stun to the enemy by being a green toon and with a stun weapon, but she also applies a fair bit of damage on her attack. Princess obviously does a lot of damage, has a lot of control, and we even have Glenn in here, so even if Glenn isn't commanding, if he ends up rushing, that's plus 65% attack, as well as defense, and confused to the enemies. So I think this type of team could also be pretty effective on attack. Dr. Stevens is kind of a staple in all of these teams because he can get the team rushing a lot faster than conventional methods. This next team is probably something closer to what I would try to run. I like using a Mercer lead, especially against Mercers as well as Jackies, but I think Alpha would do well with her disarming ability. The only fear is that if I run her against a Jackie team, if she ends up being confused and disarms my own team, that could be a huge issue. Because like my Priya's double attack, for instance, could be disarmed, my Mercer's stun, my Doctor's special weapon that gives extra AP, my Glenn's stun as well. It's a mixed bag, and it's very difficult to control. So I think she would do well on this team because she'd open a lot of doors for me. But I also feel like she's the type of toon that could wreak havoc on my own team. Kind of like how Priya with Rampage and Double Attack can wreak havoc on your own team if she's confused and she ends up attacking your attack team. I guess I would also like to mention that if you're giving her a stun on attack weapon, it's just another chance to end up stunning your own team as well. It's a dangerous type of team, or toon really, to run against Jackie. But if you think about it, almost every single team out there is dangerous to run against Jackie if you're using high-powered toons. This last team option that I've come up with for running Alpha on attack would be a more free-to-play option. I'm using free-to-play War Toon Aaron, free-to-play Season Store Toon Ivanova, free-to-play 6-star Dr. Stevens, who everyone should have been able to get from the recent Hellgate, where everyone was rewarded with a 5-star ascendable choice box that had Dr. Stevens in it. And Dr. Stevens should have been your number one choice if you did not already have him. Finally, this last slot, I have Green Glenn in here, who shows up in your supply depot, but you could really use any type of command toon in this position. So Xander would also be a good choice, seeing as he's in the season store. But you could end up using Yellow Maggie, you could use Yellow Nick, Sadiq. There's just really a lot of different options that you could use, and the main function of a commander is to command other toons anyway. So it's less important about their color, in my opinion, or their trait, and more important about the rest of their abilities and what they add to your team. I would say the general function of a team like this, or even the past teams, would be attacking with Alpha first in order to try and disarm a toon, and then laying on other attacks onto that disarmed toon. So I would probably attack Alpha first in an attempt to disarm them and potentially stun them, then attack with Aaron. I would then use Dr. Stevens' active skill so that he gains 100% AP. I would use Glenn as a command toon to command Dr. Stevens to rush, and that would give that AP to Aaron as well as Alpha. I would then attack last with Ivanova, because on the second turn, I would then use Ivanova's active skill, so my whole team would get focus as well as plus 25% attack. Then I would rush my Alpha toon on a toon that I either want to kill or stun, because she has a high damage potential. She won't trigger any weapons, and she'll apply that minus 50% defense down to the enemy. It's likely that you're killing at least one toon with Alpha based on how much damage she's doing, and you can try and avoid reflect damage mods by choosing which toon you're attacking, because the focus ability lets you attack behind Guardian Shields. Additional food for thought with this team, You could end up using Alpha's active skill on the second turn, and then you could end up commanding her with Glenn so that she still rushes. That way she has that plus 50% attack boost as well as plus 60 crit. So that almost ensures that she's going to disarm as well as apply critical hits on her rush. So after that, she's killing at least like one toon. Aaron can rush. She's getting the minus 50% defense down to the enemies, all of them, but she's also getting a plus 25% attack boost from Ivanova, in addition to any team player weapons that are on this team that give 15% more attack and plus 35 crit chance. So when Aaron rushes, she has the potential to kill 3 toons on her rush, and at bare minimum, she's impairing those 3 toons. That combination leaves basically 1 toon standing after the second turn, and you still have Ivanova, who should be able to rush the next turn if you command rush her, and she applies trauma as well as a defense down. You can give her a stun weapon. Doc Stevens is available on the third turn as well. You can still use Alpha depending on if you commanded her or not, and then you also have Aaron with an AP down weapon. So you do have a lot of options with this free-to-play team. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching and listening to my video.